This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook. I'm so excited because a lot of times we have entrepreneurs that we have no idea what they truly do, but this is a true entrepreneur, one that will resonate with you. Dan Levin, welcome to the Playbook. He is the CEO of Cain Millwork, and I know that is not a household name, Cain Millwork, but you sit in a space and a journey that starts with something that really interests me because I was a poli-sci and English major, and I always said that background was so conducive to my success. You were, I believe, a poli-sci and history major.
Exactly right. The pseudosciences, as we call it, right?
Although history to me, better than ever, history teaches us human nature. And nothing makes an entrepreneur more successful than understanding human nature. As we see today, with how quickly things can change, historically, human nature allows us to predict better what we can do to help and how we can create opportunities within all types of different things that go on. Let's go back to your journey because you started in real estate, as many do, and learned some valuable lessons in that journey. What was your first job?
So actually, my first job right out of school is I lived in Cancun, Mexico. Talk about an entrepreneurial journey. Yeah, I know, rough life. So I was 21 years old. It was 2005. And my parents had bought these condos in Cancun, Mexico. And I spoke Spanish. I took Spanish. My dad says, hey, we need a property manager down there. And so I'm thinking this is like Miami or Chicago or anywhere else you need a property manager. A couple phone calls, 15 minutes later, you compare prices, you got a property manager. That did not exist down there though. So this is at a time where full ownership condos, luxury condos were really just coming online for US and Canadians. So after like 3 months of calling around, sending emails, which I still to this day have not gotten returns to, my dad says, well, why don't you take some of your savings? I'll match it and go down there and start this business. So, it's not hard to convince a 21-year-old to move down to Cancun. So I packed up my stuff, my guitar, my computer, and a bunch of books and went down there 2 weeks before my 22nd birthday. So that was my first job out of college. I lived in Cancun and built that business up for about 3 years.
And what lesson did you learn through that 3 years?
Oh, man. Everything, it's interesting, so many of my friends, and this is not good or bad, went to get master's degree or MBAs. And I feel like after my 3 years, I kind of had my own little MBA trial by combat there. So, I had to be, the VP of sales. I remember reading on the plane a book about how to sell. I never really sold before. So I had to learn how to sell. I had to, put together how I was going to operate this property management business. What was our process? What was our double checks? I was the CFO. I was the operations guy. And seeing the opportunities, I was almost like the M&A guy too, right? So eventually I expanded. We started master leasing these units. So I developed a very interesting rental platform, different than others. Had an interior decorator who would work with us so we could furnish them, had an architect. So what I learned was that at the end of the day, when you're an entrepreneur of a small startup or you're the boss of a big company, sometimes you got to do everything. And I even now, my team knows that, look, if we got to sweep the floors in the plant, I'm not above it. If we need it swept, it needs to be swept. And so I think that's kind of the entrepreneurial mindset.
That's awesome. So you came back to Chicago from Cancun?
Yeah. Like an idiot, but no, but it was.
Did you have a tan?
Yeah. Relative to this. So yeah, as tan as I get. No, I came back in late 2007. So it had been just under 3 years. And it got to the point where there was increased competition. Now looking back on it, just everyone was so over levered, they couldn't afford anything down there. So, people were buying these $800,000, $900,000 US condos and nickel and diming over $300 a month property management. I finally said, this is not going to be my career. So I'm going to go home. And that's actually how I came to Cain. My dad had bought the company in late 90s as a 10,000 square foot cabinet shop to just do almost like I'd say onesie, twosie build outs for our office building. And so by this point, the facility was 50,000 square feet. So he says, you know what? They're implementing this ERP while you're figuring out what you want to do next, law school, MBA. I want to go spend a year there at Cain. That was 2007. I have no law degree or MBA, but I've been here ever since. So, but it's been a heck of a journey, good and bad, right? Riding into 08, 09, 10 in construction, coming out of it, growing, and obviously everything going on in the world the past couple of weeks. It's always a journey.
And through that, I mean, you have lived through two of these. I've been through 97, 2001, 2008, and this, being in the real estate construction business for so long. What are some of the opportunities that you see now since you've been through 2007, 8, and 9? Now, we both, hopefully you knew as well as I did, that 13 years of consistent growth, historically, being a history guy, being a real estate person, we were saving for a rainy day and preparing for the bubble to break. I wish that human lives, the nice thing about 2008 is nobody's life was endangered. That's the only difficult thing I have now. It's a different beast. But economically, we knew the bubble was going to burst. What types of opportunities do you see now in your space that can help entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't unique to construction. I think this is unique to a lot of businesses. When times are good, there's a lot of people in that specific business or industry that really have no business being into it. Because when business is easy, business is easy. So I think part of the softening, coronavirus or otherwise, is there are companies that we compete against that really we shouldn't be. And ultimately, and I don't say that because I would love to have no competition, but when I get the phone calls, let me back up. Our business is millwork, right? So we're the finished woodwork that you see in hotels and hospitals and restaurants. It's the thing that customers walk into a place and say, wow, this place looks amazing. It's that. It's also what keeps the project from being a construction project to a finished project. It's the last 5 yards. And so when we're going into the bidding and, we get feedback that, oh, there's this other company that we've never worked with them. They've never done a job this big, but they're like 25% below you on price. It frustrates me because that's who you're trusting with that last mile. And sure enough, we get a phone call 4 months later. Hey, these guys have fallen down. You need it to not be such a great, strong economic time because that costs people a lot of money. The owner didn't save money on that. The GC didn't save money on that. I made the same as I would have before, So that's something good, with the softening. That's the opportunity is, do you have a niche? Is what you do not just because all, the rising tide is all ships, but is what you do something that actually helps the customer? Do you have a service more than just a product? And I think that's the opportunity. That's what we do. Anyone can make a cabinet. They've been doing that since ancient Egypt, right? They really haven't, there's not much different in my business, and so, but are you a service? Do you make it such that, hey, it's a short punch list, attention to detail on the engineering? Do you make it so that hotel can open smoother, so that restaurant can open smoother, so that hospital, everything, because there's still people that come after us to train this and this. So that's our service. We make something, but it's a service business.
Yeah,
that's the opportunity.
And Dan, I think, changing the way you look at things and having that experience, because one of the things, I had an interior construction business, case-based, crown and doors and knobs and handles, very similar business, right? Those are the finishing touches. I used to tell people, if you want to sell your home for more money, doors are the easiest things to replace because they're 6'8" to 8 foot, now even 10 foot pieces of art that you have 20 to 25 of them in your home that you never think about. You could change the whole facade of your home. Where opportunity lies in millwork as well is that, a lot of people are going to have to sell homes and buy homes. And like you said, the millwork can be the difference. And it's a lot less expensive stuff to change your cabinetry and other things in millwork than it is to go ahead and redo a bathroom. And the bang for the dollar on your price when people are, in the transition. I always say money doesn't disappear, right? It stops moving for a little while in hard times. But when it starts moving, you want to be in a place where it's going to move to you. Looking at that, what are some of the other lessons in real estate specifically? Do you see, opportunities? Because not only are you in the business for yourself, but mortgage insurance, like you're around all the real estate side of things. Where do you think coming out in we absolutely will be in a recession. Money has stopped moving right now.
Right.
So
correct.
Where do you see people that are interested in real estate, entrepreneurs that are all in these niche businesses and otherwise, where there is going to be opportunity through your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what I do. I have really smart friends, and I have a really smart father who have an insight that I go and trust. So surround yourself by smart people. That's no matter what. But I mean, the opportunities, a general rule that I live by no means that I invent this, and you're going to hear it from a lot of people is, look at don't take unnecessary risks. In real estate, it's so easy to take an unnecessary risk. That it's a fancy address, It's this great looking, high profile thing. It looks turnkey. The stuff that I like and the stuff that my family's done well on over time, it's not by luck. It's that maybe it's not the sexiest looking thing, but you want to know something that's got good guts. And if you re-tenant it here, like we talked about, you put another facelift on it, all of a sudden you brought a C to a B. You didn't overpay for an A that maybe best case is exactly what you thought it was, but maybe it's actually a B. So that's how I look at it. I mean, at the end of the day, real estate is a way to create jobs. It's a way to empower small businesses. If it goes as an ego trip, I think that's where people get in trouble, and that's not something we've ever played by. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's how I look at it.
No, and it moves me to a really important question as well, is that you've learned so much, as you indicated, even when you were down in Cancun, right? I know the feeling. I used to say, man, I'm getting an MBA a day, right? My siblings went to Harvard, Penn, and Columbia, and they can't hold a candle to what I've learned, by being in the roots of it. But, I'm in a very sexy business, right? I ran Lee Steinberg, Jerry Maguire with sports agency, Warren Moon's my partner in sports marketing. I got TV shows, podcasts, and a lot of people, they want to do what I do, stand on stages and write books and do movies and all this stuff. But in the end, I enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I enjoy talking to CEOs of millwork companies that have figured it out, that you're going to still have to have skills. You're still going to have knowledge, but more importantly, I always say, learn to love what you do. I don't love I've sold legal research online and made millions of dollars. Who the heck loves selling legal research? But what I do is I find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything, and I've learned to love it. What I feel about you, the most extraordinary thing that entrepreneurs can take away is that, if I told people, hey, I got a job for you in millwork, the line would be very short compared to, hey, you can work for Sports One Marketing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I totally agree. I want to come work for you. It sounds great. You got me sold on it. So
it sounds great, but in the end, you and I both know you have a really good job and you experience a lot of different things. I mean, if you enjoy sports, I'm sure through your job, you get to go to Cubs games or Bears games, or, get to get down on the sideline if you want to. You have the connections, all the dumb reasons people want to work in sports that they can do while they're a millwork person. How have you maintained that perspective of finding the light, the love, and the lessons in what you do? Because I can tell by your positive attitude, you really enjoy what you do. And it's not the sexiest thing in the world. It's been done, like you said, since ancient Egypt. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, and this is independent of millwork, I really do like creating jobs. And I say that because it gives me pleasure in that, knowing that what we do, it's not just about the one employee here or the one employee there, or 10s or 20s. It's our subcontractors. It's the extension of that. It's our vendors, and like all the jobs and families. That's the responsibility that business owners, large and small, have in this country. And while, yes, it is a burden to sign the front of the paycheck, there's a great responsibility and great pleasure that comes with it. So, and I take that really seriously, and I love that. But at the same time, you talk about, like our product, like where it is. So we did the locker rooms for almost every team here in Chicago. The Cubs was not one of them. But
the Bulls were.
The Bulls were, the Blackhawks, they're both their new locker rooms. And so it's exciting to see on TV post game. And at some point, the Bulls will reclaim a national championship. The Blackhawks will win another Stanley Cup with the new locker room. But when I've had the opportunity to see some of these players, it kind of gives me a little bit of a conversation topic. I was talking to a Blackhawks player 3 years ago, maybe now. And I said, hey, they said, here's my business. I said, we actually did your locker room. Well, all of a sudden we're talking. I'm not just some random, he's like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool. This is this. We love it. The trading facility. So, it's interesting. So it'll be nice to see champagne spread all over our beautiful millwork someday. And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that a boy. Well, last question. A lot of times I ask somebody if they could go back into the past or into the future, which one? I know you would go back in the past, because people who say they go back in the past aren't afraid of the future. And I can tell you're not afraid of the future. But I'll ask you a little bit of a twist on my favorite question is, if you were going to go back into the past, one person would you like to meet and why?
Wow. Holy cow. You know what? If I could go back in the past, I would want to talk to myself at 21 before I went to Cancun and see if my memory of like my, view on life and my fears, my goals, were what I remember. I mean, I could tell you what I think they were, but I would love to sit down with 21-year-old Dan Levin and really gut check myself. That'd be interesting.
That just shows your wisdom. You know, I always say we are basing all of our reality off of two faulty things. One, our senses, how we see things, smell things, taste things, touch things, and even worse, the faulty memories that we have. And, you know, I always say one thing I know about myself is the older I get, the better I was. You know, I love hearing people tell me, you know, oh my God, I'm like, I'm not sure. That's not the way I remember it. You know, I was an idiot or a moron. Anyway, Dan, I really appreciate this. This has been an extraordinary playbook. You got to go back and listen to this because this is the real wisdom of an everyday person with an everyday business that is doing extremely well. Most importantly, he's passionate, he's profitable, and he's also philanthropic, giving back, and has a philanthropy attitude to what he does. He's trying to improve other people's lives by providing opportunities. So Dan, thank you so much. You're a true entrepreneur, and anything I can do for you, let me know.
I appreciate it. This is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to meeting you in person. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.